So as an architect, if you can imagine, we usually present ideas in schematics, floor plans, elevations, all of these flat surfaces, and all of these ideas will eventually come together to make this 3D object. And typically clients won't be able to visualize that object. So what we do is we provide them with perspective drawings. And the most common perspective drawings that we use are two-point perspectives. So to start off, we have to create what we call the picture plane line. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a simple line here, right here, right? And we want that to be as straight as possible. Okay, so we have a basic line. Okay, and this line is pretty much infinite, and the idea of the line, just so you understand, or I'm sorry, have a better understanding of how it works, is, oops, what did I do? We have the line because this is going to represent the plane at which the client is going to look at, or even you as the viewer will look at. So if you can imagine that you just standing here admiring your work, okay, you're just standing there admiring work, and you're looking into the distance, and what you're trying to capture is a particular view, right? Okay, so this plane right here is our picture plane line, which is what I just drew up here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of that. Now, the next thing we're going to need is the floor plan. So let's go ahead and switch to the color blue. Okay, so if you can imagine, the floor plan should be to scale. What scale you use is up to you. So you can just, in this instance, we're going to go ahead and pretend that it is the scale. Okay, and let's just say that this floor plan is somewhat of a rectangular shape. Let's try to get it as good as I can. Right, it's a rectangular shape. Now you cannot have one of the sides of your floor plan directly on top of the picture plane line. Okay, so what we do is we typically rotate it clockwise 30 degrees. Okay, and then after that we take the corner that's closest to the lowest corner, and we rest it right on top of the picture plane. Okay, just like that. Right, so this will be our floor plan. Imagine that it's to scale, and imagine that it's more perfect. And like I said, so what we have here is our floor plan that has been rotated clockwise 30 degrees. Okay, and so if this corner right here is 90 degrees, a perfect right angle, then this one opposite side would be 60 degrees, right? And the reason we rotate it that way is so that the viewer can see. So like I said, this is our picture plane line, so it's kind of, imagine it as our what we're seeing. If we only have the one face resting on top of the picture plane line, what we end up with is a distorted elevation, basically, which is what we don't want. We want to have a better view of the object in 3D. So we need to catch more sides to give it that 3D appearance. So in this scenario, we can see two sides. Okay, so that will make it a better representation for our client to understand what is going to be made out of these ideas. Right? So next thing we're going to need, so we have, like I said, we have our picture plane, line, and we have our floor plan, which should be to scale. The next thing we'll need is what we call the station point, or the standing point. And there's two ways to get the stationary point. The first way is by using the scale that we've set. We can just measure a distance from the corner here, perpendicular to the picture plane line. We can measure a distance of where the person is going to stand in order to look at our idea. So let's just say, for example, that this structure was 3 by 3 meters. If they were standing, if they were standing 6 meters away, they could easily see the entirety of the structure with their typical viewpoint, because the view of a typical person is like 30 degrees, right? And then if you include your peripheral vision, you can get up to 60 to 90 degrees, right? But what you want to catch mostly is 30 degrees of the whole view, right? So it can depend on you how far you want your client to stand, how far away you want them to stand. So that's all the station point is. It's a determining where the client is standing to view the object that's being represented. But there's another way we can do this, and that is if we take the total width here from the corners. Oops, let's get a better. Make perpendicular lines from the going to the picture plane line. Okay, and we'll take that, we'll rotate it 30 to 90 degrees, sorry. Okay, once we've rotated it, we're going to take that distance, and then from the picture plane line, right, we can just take 2. Okay, 2 of those distances, and then we'll take we'll make a perpendicular line once again from this point, perpendicular, just going straight down, and right here will be our stationary point, our standing point, our viewpoint. This is where our dude is standing, dude or dudette, right? Right around there. Okay. So now we have our station point, we have our floor plan, we have our picture plane line. What we're going to next do is we're going to make a floor line or a ground line. So we usually put this beneath the standing point line. So this is our typical setup. We'll have the floor plan way on top, above the picture frame line and the picture frame line, and then our standing point will be between the ground line and the picture frame line, right? So let's go ahead and make a line. Let's go ahead and just say it's somewhere around here. Go ahead and make it, yeah, right here. Okay. And then so like I said, this line right here on the bottom is called the floor line or the ground line. And what we're going to put on the ground line is we're going to put the elevation. So we're going to put the elevation of our proposed structure. So let's just say, put it way over here. Let's try to make it as straight as possible. One more time. Okay. So let's say that our object is somewhat cube-like in appearance. All right. Okay. Now we're going to make another line. This line is what we call the viewing line, the view line. And the view line will also become what we call the horizon. Okay. So the height of the view line, like I said, we have a floor plan to scale, and the elevation here should also be of the same scale and resting right on top of the floor line. Okay. And the view line or horizon line, which will become the horizon line, should be somewhere around the eye level of the observer, which is this person right here, where the standing point is. So we can say that it will probably be somewhere between 1.5 to 2 meters, anywhere between that point. And let's go ahead and do that. So let's say that 1.5 meters is somewhere around here. Okay. There. Oops. Let's redo that one. So let's say 1.5 meters is somewhere around here. Right? So now we have our view line, or what will soon become our horizon line. Next, we're going to need to create the vanishing point. So this is what makes a two-point perspective drawing, is the vanishing points. And typically, so like I said, we have one face here that's 30 degrees, okay? 30 degrees clockwise from the picture plane. Regardless of where this other, regardless of at what angle this one is right here, this line, we're still gonna go from this side 60 degrees counterclockwise. All right. In this particular instance, since we did make it, we're assuming that it's 30-60 already. We can make parallel lines to these, but just so you know, regardless, we're gonna start here and go 60 degrees counterclockwise, and then from that line, wherever it lands, we're gonna make a parallel line going from this standing point. Okay, so we can assume here then that we have one line here. Let's just make some, oops, sorry. Let's go ahead and make a line here. So remember, this is 30 degrees. And this is supposedly 60 degrees. So one more time. This is supposedly 30 degrees. And we're going to move that all the way down here to the standing point. And then we're going to assume that this is 60 degrees. Okay. It's all assumptions. This is just a basic drawing on how to do it. So we're going to move that here from the standing. Okay. Let's go ahead and take our picture plane line and move it a bit. That way it intersects with our newly created lines. Yeah, just like that. Okay. So where those will intersect will determine where our vanishing points are. So we have two vanishing points that will be our points, that will be our proof that this is a two-point perspective drawing. Okay. So let's go back here just a bit once again. Let's move these to the side a bit. Yeah, just like that. And let's go ahead and we're going to draw two lines perpendicular from the perpendicular from the picture frame line, going all the way to the floor line at where the intersection of these newly created angled lines are. Okay? Yeah, I know it's confusing. So, like I said, perpendicular. I'm just going to draw here. 1 and 2. Okay. Let's move our friend the elevation a bit more so it's not in the way. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So now this is how we determine where the vanishing points are. We're going to use maybe a pinkish color. From the horizon line, the horizon line, wherever that intersects, that's where we're gonna put our vanishing points. So vanishing point number 1 and vanishing point number 2. Okay, so now we have all the basic things we need to start doing our perspective. Now this is where our floor plan and elevations come into play. So we're going to go ahead and go back. We're going to give our attention back to them. And we're going to go ahead and use red to represent these lines. Yeah. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is all of the visible corners that we can see, we're going to go ahead and project them here to our standing point. Make lines, projecting, and they have to go through the picture plane. There, we have 3, okay? And from there, wherever they intersect here, let's use a different color to represent that. From where they intersect here on the picture plane, those new lines that we've created, we're going to draw perpendicular lines going all the way through down to the floor. Okay, just all the way down from where they intersected. Bam. Okay, now we're going to use our elevation to determine the height. Okay, so from here, the top of our elevation, bam, right there. Okay, and since it's already on the floor, we don't need to make a line to determine how far it is from the ground, right? We already have all the basic lines we need right here. So our reference line is always going to be this line right here. Oops, sorry. Our reference line is always going to be this line right here, the one that's touching the corner of the floor plan that's touching the picture frame line. So this one right here that's touching, that will be our reference line right here, down here. Oops, sorry. Right there, that's our reference line. That will always be our reference line. Why will it be our reference line? Because it's the most defined. What makes it the most defined is it is the it's the intersection of the floor plan to the picture frame line and the elevation to the floor line are right on the surfaces. So we can already determine that this is a true size. Okay, so now that we've determined that's a true size, we can start projecting from this line the intersections here, 1 and 2. Okay, we're going to create lines once again. That will go from here, to the vanishing point. Next, the vanishing point here, and the vanishing point from here to here. Oops, that one's a bit crooked. And one more from here to there. Yeah. Okay. So we can already kind of see the shape that we're making. The cube that has formed. Oops. Right here. And that is already at our 2-point perspective. So let's go ahead and zoom in on that. So I didn't intersect them very well, but this is our shape right here. Oops, one more time. Why is it so crooked? There you go. Okay. That is the cube. Pardon my lines, they're a bit crooked, but that's the shape we're made. So that's how you do a basic 2-point perspective using vanishing points, right? So typically, when you start getting the idea of how the drawing comes to be, you start to learn how to do it without all of the lines, so you're able to imagine it better. So you don't always have to do this, but it's not bad to practice it as much as you can. So let's get rid of this circle first. Oops, sorry. And the way around. Okay. So as I said, what we have here is our perspective, 2-point perspective, and it's resting right on the picture frame line, right? So this is how far, or this is the view that you see from this distance, right? And you can kind of just frame it how you want to frame it. So once you get that done, you can just make a frame around it. Oops, sorry. Horrible. And that would be your image, okay? So what else can you possibly see around this object if you're making a 2-point perspective? So it's not always just going to be that. You can also use this method to include other elements of the drawing. So for example, let's say you had a tree back here somewhere, another few trees back here. Okay, so as long as it's still seen by the stationary point, which is this right here, you can see that it will intersect with the picture plane, and then when you drag it all the way down here from the picture plane, you would be able to see them in the background, right? And this would be your horizon in the background. The view line will now become your horizon line, right? So let's go ahead and get rid of the trees again. And we can erase all the lines afterwards. Usually when I draw 2-point perspectives, I just keep all the lines because it makes it look more technical, but it kind of depends on the preference of the person you're making it for. A lot of times when I was studying, My professors didn't like them, so I just deleted them or erased them. So most of this is if you're doing manual drawings, yeah. But it's up to you. You can actually see these kind of drawings on the works of Frank Lloyd Wright, and you can see the detail you have to put in order to make one of these drawings work. And I personally hope that these methods don't die, especially in the digital world. And yeah, that's how you make a basic 3D perspective or 2-point perspective. Now, as I mentioned earlier, so like there are elements that are above the floor line. So let's say you have stairs. So I'm gonna try to do this as best as I can. Or not stairs. Let's say you have a marquee or something right up here, like that. And you can also use this. So you'd like make a perpendicular line there, and our reference would be right here, right? Our reference will always be this line right here. And then you'd also have to present this on the floor plan. That way you'd be able to project where it is here. So for example, you have the marquee somewhere on this side. It will overlap the picture plane. So that still works. What you do is, so this is the corner that you see, right? So if it overlaps the picture plane, you'd still make a line going from the viewpoint to the picture plane that goes through the picture frame line. And then you would make another line, right? That would go through that. Okay. Right here down to the floor line. Okay. And that would be the projection. So as I said, since this is the point that's touching, right? Oops, sorry. Since this is the point that's touching this particular line, this will still be our reference line. So whatever intersects here, properly intersects here, that will be our point. And then we use the vanishing points once again to create a line going from here to here, right? Okay. Then you'd make another vanishing point from where those lines intersect, going from here to there. And that would determine where the marquee is. So if I were to show it here, and then we'd have another line that goes to the vanishing point from this point. And then, yeah. Sorry, it's a bit crooked, but yeah, look like that. So any element that you make on the floor plan would be visible on the perspective. So it just has to be visible on the elevations on the floor plan, right? And the picture plane line will always be your reference of things. I'll just share a quick story. I remember one time, let's use a different color. This is kind of rude, but I had this classmate that was just like such a know-it-all. Well, I was also a know-it-all, so it's okay, but so they had the roof, right? They didn't draw the roof on their floor plan, so they added it after doing the perspective as a cube, right? So they had the roof right here. And they thought that the roof would just be like aligned with this line right here, this line that goes straight down. And it made the perspective so ugly. because what happened was they kind of just used that line. So as you can see, it shouldn't be around here somewhere. It would be somewhere out here to make it look proper. I don't know. And the worst part was, so this isn't a nice story, but it's a true story. The professor that was teaching us how to do it was like, "Yes, that's right. You know, that's basically how it is." I was like, I don't know. Sometimes you have to ask questions in order to get a better result. I'm pretty sure there are some of you that went through the same problems while studying. And if you want my advice, just do it the right way. Even if they give you a lower grade, just keep doing it the right way. Because at the end of the day, yeah, they think they're doing it right, but you know, they're the reason that the practice is dying. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I'm talking a bit soft, but I'd like it to be a bit more calming. You know, just have a chill time. We're just sketching here. That's another thing that I never really enjoyed when I was studying, because they wanted everything to be so perfect, and it's like, okay, and then why don't you just take a picture? Anyway, yeah, take care everybody. I hope we can always better ourselves, and bye bye.